Here we are back in the Taylor Park.
On the side of that paper,
Right.
And he's doing the math by hand.
Because nothing gives me more joy. And nothing gives 12-foot long brown trout wrap coming down the river doesn't scare the shit out of the fish. See you tomorrow at JB's.
We'll be out there.
All right.
Bring the Maverick.
You know, I kind of want to, I want to talk about this, but I also want to get into talking about permits. So I kind of want to, just speed it up just a little bit. As while I was at a ranch school in Utah, and that's a whole different story. My father gave me an opportunity for a guide to fish with, and I was actually living on the dock behind the OVN. I was sleeping there. I slept there for probably 3 months, I think it was.
Okay, so you stayed in Islamorada for a while.
Yeah, I was there for probably 3 months. And that was one of the years it was really cold. And I'm not asking for empathy, but God, you really don't know how cold 53 degrees is until you've slept on a dock. I mean, yeah, I had some stuff to get me through. I mean, there was a bench on the dock behind the OVN, and I slept there for 3 months. And I think the owner tolerated it. I don't know why he did. I don't know if it was just out of the goodness of himself. But I slept on a bench. I mean, it was a covered bench, and I remember waking up in the middle of the night shivering. And so anyhow, I had a day to fish with, and what I did not talk about is the fly shop that I frequented in Chicago was Flying Field, and that was Diana Rudolph.
Oh yeah, Diana.
Yeah, she
worked at Sandy's shop.
She worked at Flying Field way before she worked at Sandy's shop. So she gave me a guide's number, Perry Coleman, and I fished with him for a day, and it was a terrible day. And Perry was like, "I'm not going to charge you for this day, blah blah blah." God, I gotta stop saying that. I'm not going to charge you for this day. Let's do another day. Let's figure this out. Let's get to a warmer climate. You're here. And I was lying, saying that I'm in a hotel. I'm here for a while, but in realization, I was sleeping on a dock behind the OVN. And then one day he took me to Biscayne Bay. And I gotta tell you, I don't know how it is today, but back then, I mean, those fish were, I think the first fish I threw at was probably 13, 14 pounds. It was probably the first fish that I threw at, and I hooked up with him. Yep, I hooked up to him. Yeah, I believe, and I believe Perry would say the same thing, because, I'm gonna go further, but, so we were stalking Biscayne Bay and not getting any shots, and then all of a sudden this pair of fish came in, and they were big fish. And I know how big fish run because there's one single bonefish that I know of that was somewhere around the edges of the contents that I had with Will, that it was in the school of bonefish, and the big one was in the middle, and that's what he says. And we hooked up, and it cleared my line pretty quickly. So I know what kind of weight in regards to how fast it peels off. And so the first bonefish I ever saw, he thought it was a permit. He was like, "Oh, 2 permit coming in." And he was like, "Oh, no, they're bonefish. They're big bonefish." And I remember tossing the fly and placed it perfectly. And the fish ate, and it peeled off the amount of line that I had never witnessed before. And we had fished earlier in the day for redfish. So I mean, everyone says that's practice. You know, you're practicing for you go redfish in the morning and then you go bonefish if you're a newbie. Is that you practice at redfish, you know, in the bay, and then you go out to the ocean side. And we did that one day, and then we came back and we did the Biscayne Bay thing, and I'd never gotten my clock so rocked by a fish before. I was just, I didn't have any clue in the world of what a fish could do to a reel. And it was just peeling line, and then it just popped off. And I was like, okay. I had to sit down. I mean, I had to just take a moment for myself. And Perry, you know, he said, you know, this is the way that it goes. You know, you're new, man. You just don't get to walk in here and land a double-digit bonefish. And then I remember, I don't know if we were around Elliott Key or wherever we were around. We pulled over, and then this is the first time I saw permit. And it was behind a ray. And it's extremely weird, is that permit don't follow rays in the lower keys, but they do in the upper keys.
Interesting.
And so there was a permit on the back of a ray, and Perry said, you know, put it there, and I put it there, and that fish turned off the ray, got on the fly, and chased the fly for a good 30 feet. I didn't know how to feed them at that point in time. You know, I'm still learning bonefish. And then all of a sudden that permit like looked at it and just peeled off of it. And I was like, oh, you know, whatever. And I looked back at my guy, Perry, he's like, oh my fucking God. Oh God. Oh God. And Perry had never, ever had a client land a permit on fly on his boat. And he was just like, oh my God, this is incredible. And I was like, what is this permit game? And he's like, dude, you don't really, he doesn't say dude, he says that, but Perry was like, you don't know, Mike. You really just don't know what these fish are. And there's something different. We're chasing something right now, but there's something different. And of course, soon I'd realize. But anyhow, so we got another shot at a single fish. And I truly believe, I could show you the photo, I think it was 12 pounds. I think my first bonefish was 12 pounds. I think it was. I would say, if you want to argue it, it's 10 to 12 pounds. I still, you look at the head and shoulders. I mean, it's all about the cone to the gill plate and how it, you know, flares out on how big that fish is. Because you know the bonefish, it slides back in right behind the gill plate. You know, so it's all about the head and the shoulders.
Yeah, that girth.
Yeah, in this fish, I think you've seen that photo, right? I think you have, and I truly think that fish was 12 pounds. And God, the screen, there is no fish, I mean, other than maybe if you want to make an argument about barracuda, that has the bursts of a bonefish, especially a Biscayne bonefish. I was lucky. I was extremely lucky to be able to present a correct fly to that fish and to willingly, I should say unwillingly, understand how to feed that fish, because that's not fair. That's not fair. You know, I went down to, immediately when I moved down here to Sanibel, I spent 3 months. I didn't own a rod, not a rod. And I stood on a flat for 3 months in Sanibel, and I was seeing 40-inch snook all the time. And I said, I am not going to buy a rod until I understand this flat. And so that's not fair. It's not fair for someone to just walk down there and to just catch that fish, to me. And it was special. I mean, it was special, but I didn't know how special it was. Yeah, I didn't know that this fishery was just going to go away. You know, it means something to me. It truly means something to me that I at least saw it. And, you know, while going down the rabbit hole of, you know, Walker's Case Chronicles, the Walker Case Chronicles, God, 20 years ago, they were talking about, oh, these fish are all of a sudden making a comeback. I'm like, really? This is that bad? So we're just going through the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows through...
It's a cycle.
I mean, I don't understand it. And I'm extremely happy to hear that, you know, the bone fishing is starting to come back in Islamorada and Biscayne. And, yeah, it's just, I was so lucky to have experienced that at its peak.
Hey, it's Larry with Taylor Trash Fly Fishing. I hope you've enjoyed this little 10-minute clip of my beer with Mike Allen. If you want to hear more of his story, head over to taylortrash.com or wherever it is that you like to listen to your podcast. Thanks for listening.